So this was the Russian-Ukrainian front exactly 1 year ago, and this is the Russian-Ukrainian front right now. Did you blink? Did you miss it? Let me show it to you again, because you might have thought you blinked and missed it, but no, in reality, these maps look almost identical. Obviously, there have been some gains on the Russian side, but really not much for a whole 365 days to go by. Plus, don't count out the Ukrainians. They've actually made some gains themselves up here into Russian territory. This is in the Kursk region. And now, notably, everyone is comparing this now to World War I, specifically in the Western Front, because the borders really aren't moving all that much, even though years are literally passing by. Everyone loves to bring up the amount of casualties compared to the actual ground that was being taken. Yeah, you need to like lose 1 million dudes for like 10 yards. And yeah, apparently Russia is learning this the hard way because they are seeing heavy casualties. Of course, that's always how it goes for the attacking force. It's just so strange to see us revert back to, well, World War I tactics in a way. I mean, they're using trenches down there. Obviously, they're also using drones, though. It just kind of shows the weird ebbs and flows you see in military engagement versus military technology and progression. People always assume because technology is getting better and better every year, that means that we're able to take more and more land faster and faster every year. That is not the case. What's really interesting to think about is, yeah, right now military engagement is slow, and it's very slow, and it might remain slow for another like decade, but when is it going to get to World War II levels of speed at some point? It is inevitable that at some point we do see people taking over countries this fast. I'm just scared, like, are we going to be ready for that in like the year 2060 or something? Seems very similar to World War I. Nothing is shifting much. Will a sudden collapse happen again? Time will tell. Remember, Russia did not have a very good World War I. We already have early calculations. It is costing 125 lives for every 1 squared kilometer. This is now just reminding me that there are Ukrainian drones that are attacking Russian refineries, oil refineries deep inside of Russian territory.
In August 2025, there were at least 19 Ukrainian attacks on Russian oil infrastructure.
That's so deep in there.
Hitting 9 different refineries, as well as depots and pipelines.
And obviously this is putting a lot of pressure on the Russian government. Every time I start to think that Ukraine is done, they start to do something like this, and it's like, oh, that kind of gives them an upper hand again. Maybe not that Ukraine is done, but that things really don't look good for Ukraine, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're back in it. Everyone always underestimates, though, the true size of Russia. This is just the European side of the Russian territory, and there's only a few countries bigger than it. Again, this is just like 25% of Russia, somewhere around there. I guess the exact figure is about 23%. Don't forget, too, that altogether for just the continent of Europe, Russia holds 51% of the continent of Europe. But yet, this is still only 23% of actual Russian land because they have all this over here. So European Russia is just under 4 million squared kilometers. The only countries bigger than European Russia are the USA and Canada because that's third and second in terms of territory. Close with China, though, but again, just in terms of land area, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then it's Brazil, and then it's Australia, the entire continent of Australia. That's crazy. You still have to times this by 4 to get the true size, and even that, it's not even times it by 4, times it a little bit more than just 4. I'm talking about this not because we should just assume that Russia is a very big and powerful country. Those are not synonymous. Just because you own a lot of land doesn't make you a very powerful country, as we're seeing. Now, what it does provide is a ton of resources, including oil and energy. Russian energy is often talked about, but most of Russia is basically just a frozen wasteland. Nobody even lives out over here in this side. It is kind of funny that we are judging just like Russian Europe because that is where, I don't know, more than 75% of their people live in. Almost exactly 75 to 80%. So yeah, the vast majority of Russian population do live on the European side. And this is where Russia's power really comes from as well. Maps can be very misleading when it comes to judging Russia's strength because of how big they look. But I actually feel like, you know, compared to all these other countries on the map, this is more of a better representation of how powerful Russia actually is. It's a very powerful country. They've got a lot of nukes, pretty powerful military, but they clearly cannot win a war with, well, a bigger neighbor that's just on their border. I feel like because of the Cold War, everyone assumes that like Russia is more powerful than China. That is absolutely not the case. China would demolish Russia. I feel like an interesting comparison is like this red territory, this is just Russia's backyard. It's not where people live in. It's not the home. It's not like where all the economic wealth is built in the property, if that makes any sense. This is the mansion. This is what gives you the economic benefit. This is just a nice big old backyard to have, which is good. You have resources in your backyard, but it's frozen and it's hard to do anything with it. That's an important thing to know. And it's crazy to think about because India is smaller than just European Russia, yet India has 10 times the population or something, maybe even more, 15. They got all this land, and yet they still need all of their neighbors' territories. Like I kind of just said, though, they need their neighbors' territories that are a bit warmer, because this is what most of Russia looks like. And spoiler alert, it's kind of hard to do anything with this. You got a lot of it. What do you do with it? Free real estate. So Russia is actually very similar to a Canadian province known as Nunavut, and Nunavut is the largest electoral district on Earth. It's actually 8 times larger than the UK. It's sometimes hard to tell on flat maps, but on a globe perspective, you can really see this province's true size. It's funny too, because it is in fact the largest electoral district on Earth, yet it's like 84 people that live here. No, there's actually about hovering around 40,000, which, if you know anything about population numbers, that's not enough for anything. Wyoming, our smallest state, has almost 500,000 still. This probably has one of the craziest population densities in the entire world, considering it's the biggest electoral district, yet it's only got 40,000 people, so they've got essentially no electoral power, and 84% of the population here are also indigenous to the land as well. I was talking about how a lot of Russia is just frozen over tundra. Nunavut is definitely just 100% frozen over tundra. I mean, there's more up there. There's some mountains and stuff, but it's actually one of the most beautiful places on Earth, as you can probably imagine. It's very untouched land, but also very inhospitable, as you can imagine. It's absolutely insane that Nunavut here is 8 times larger than all of the UK. Well, most Canadian provinces are larger than the UK. The top comment, population of 41,000. That is smaller than the small town in Vermont, Burlington. That's a town. That's not even a state. People were comparing it to the largest oblast in Russia, the Sakha Republic. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. I feel like the author of this post here would be saying, yeah, but do they hold free and fair elections? I mean, yeah, no. That, I would imagine, is probably the big difference, I guess. And what's crazy is that pre-1999, Nunavut was even bigger. It was all known as the Northwest Territories, which Canada still has this province, but this was then the biggest subdivision back in the day. You know, it's actually kind of crazy. They decided to split up these provinces just for, well, 40,000 people. And there was probably even less than that back in 1999. So there are 10 countries in the world where if you leave religion or abandon your faith, it is punishable by death. And, they do all have one thing in common. I will let you guys fill that in. Really surprised to see Malaysia on this list, though. That's kind of crazy. I heard Malaysia's so chill. I mean, Iran, Afghanistan, Yemen, Mauritania. All right. Yeah, I could see that. I kind of wonder if this is just one of those things that's in the books, but they don't necessarily always do it, or maybe they threaten to do it, but they probably never do. I mean, maybe some of these countries do it. I can imagine one country for sure doing it. So in the case of Malaysia, it's actually just certain specific states that have laws or criminalized it under broad blasphemy statutes. Afghanistan has it under their penal code. Brunei is a pretty crazy nation if you've looked into Brunei. I'm seeing a whole lot of mays and cans, though, which kind of does support my first theory that they probably don't do it. It's probably strongly looked down on. I mean, your family's probably just going to do it for the government. A more specific breakdown is this one. You could go to prison in Malaysia. Converting a Muslim is a crime. And then in Egypt or Oman, you could lose your child or marriage. Nigeria is also a pretty kind of divided nation as well. That was not on that previous map. Plus probably a dozen others where it's not punishable by law, but will get you killed nonetheless. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Because I feel like there's a lot of countries that are missing, like, I don't know, Syria and Iraq. What do they do? Do we want to know? Will God save the Maldives? No, that's why they're okay. You didn't have to go there. Dang, that's sad about the Maldives. I've always wanted to go to the Maldives. Maybe I'll still go. I don't know. This is definitely not a good look, though, bro. How you gonna look this beautiful and do some crazy stuff like that? That's just what I want to know. Especially considering like island culture all around the world. I feel like all civilizations, all cultures that live on islands, they're just like such chill people. They're just trying to relax, chill by the beach. I was wondering about that. I mean, it does just say leaving religion, but I don't think they would care much if you were just leaving Christianity, Judaism, Sikhism. There's one that you cannot, though. Why would anyone come out, though, and just announce to the world, I am no longer following this faith? People do that? I guess people do that, actually. Yeah, they do. So these countries definitely detour any of that. I'm sure with these laws in place, that whole thing's dropped to 0%. That's like a 0% chance of happening now. Probably does just happen in secret, though. It's interesting to consider, though, some of the other Muslim countries on this map that are not included. I'm thinking like Syria Syria, like Iraq, like Egypt and Sudan and Libya. I mean, Indonesia's got the most Muslims in the world. They're not on the map, though. There's got to be some historical explanation for a lot of these. Pakistan, too, that's a big one. This is one of the more fun maps I've seen in a while. This is honking cultures around the world. Do you honk your horn? Beep, beep. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've always thought here in the US, specifically in my home city of LA, we do not use the horn enough. It is such a useful tool. I think a lot of people think they gotta blast that sucker like... It could just be like a little beep beep. Use your horn once and everyone thinks you're in your car just absolutely crashing the out. However, like I said, I mean, it can be used as a tool. Like, just let other people know, like, hey, I'm here, just give me like a little sound. For instance, like, I came to this conclusion when I started like biking around. I'm not a big biker, but a bike with like a ring, if I'm like kind of following close behind a car, I'm gonna give them a little ring just so they're aware I'm right here. I know it's chaos, it might be hard to see me. Let me just give my bell a little ring so this person is aware I'm right here behind you, buddy. After I started doing that, I'm like, oh, we should kind of maybe do this more with cars. I felt like honking can be more of a tool. Now, there are a couple places in the US I think that honking culture is much more accepted. The big one being obviously Manhattan, New York City, just in general. Now, this map has us under the honking the car horn is uncommon. Again, I think in the Northeast, you can consider it common, but for the rest of the country, it is uncommon. Like, I think in Texas, if you do it, you'll get killed. I'm sure there's lots of outliers. Like, obviously, if you're living in a bigger city, you might be surprised that your nation is in blue. Maybe the rest of the country, it is uncommon, but of course, the big cities, you're going to use the horn more often. Like I said, because it is a tool. A lot of these places that are in red where honking is very common, that's because they need to do it. Like, it's literally like a life or death situation. You want to know the actual common theme all of the honking culture countries have together? It's that these countries don't really have lanes. They don't have lines. It's just a free-for-all. They gotta use the horn because there's no lines on their streets. It's just everyone kind of going. You need to make people aware, like, hey, you're kind of getting into my lane, my line of destination. I definitely know that's the thing for India, Indonesia, the Philippines. Now, China kind of has lines, at least in the big cities that I've visited. Maybe other places don't have as many lanes and lines. Mexico also doesn't really have a whole lot of lanes. Like, what's the use of painting the ground to, like, tell people where the lanes are if, you know, your people are already using honking culture in general? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, maybe that's less safe. Maybe. I don't know. But these are some of the best drivers in the world, baby. You wish you could be some of these red countries. I'm telling you. Oh, Brazil, another big one. Completely forgot about Brazil. The outliers here, though, are fascinating. For instance, Italy being a honking culture along with all of the Balkans. Big outliers for the continent of Europe. Then we have the opposite direction. We have the UAE and Qatar. Now, these are smaller countries, but also very rich countries. Maybe my lane theory still kind of holds up. They probably do paint their roads and stuff like that. Weirdly, a couple of outliers in Africa, and I don't even notice. I mean, we've got Namibia and Botswana, which, by the way, if you want Botswana, we're selling them over at makeshift.com. There's a link down below if you want this. He's about to be gone forever along with Egypt and Somalia, so go check him out. This is going to be a little crazy. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I feel like there's kind of a wealth thing to this, isn't it? Because I'm looking at some of the outliers, like Singapore, very rich nation, UAE, Qatar, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Is it a wealth thing? Oh god, definitely costs money to paint lines on the ground, though. That's for sure. Again, though, I like I said, I think honking is a good thing. I think we should all be honking a little bit more. You just got to learn how to do it like the polite honk, the little beep, 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 beep. Someone used this post, though, and said another whiteness map just dropped. So, I'm guessing that means Italy is... We've officially got the word. Italy is not white. And welcome to the gang! South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, apparently. As an American living in Japan, if you honk at somebody here in Japan in your car and they get in an accident, the accident is your fault for honking at them. Bro, that's crazy. Why even install the honking in the first place? 100 years of Italian assimilation nuked in one boat. Botswana confirmed Aryan again. Like I said, check out makeshift.com before Egypt, Somalia, and Botswana are gone forever. There's time, but it's only running out. Big thanks to my patrons this month. If you want your name here, check that Patreon link in the description down below. Never change Drew unless you want to. We need a Drew bobblehead figurine. Petition for Drew Alexander
to make
the Terrible,
ASMR
Connor
Tingles
Pavlik,
version 2.
Frederick Tiblin,
King Bear Hayes,
Lord,
Track,
Luxembourg Lover,
Miglu the Goat,
Nolan, Nord Tyrol,
Tamron,
and William.